Hello, welcome back. I'm Darren, and today is just kind of a bit of a catch-up video. I don't know if you've seen probably any of the videos I put up over the last couple of days. I've not been feeling great, so my voice has kind of been going on and off, so I haven't really made much in the way of content. But I did receive a few things that I kind of wanted to go through. So I received, or I'm starting to use this new mic, which is the Rode Podcast USB mic. So far, so good. It's got a lot. It's a lot more in depth. Probably a lot more professional, maybe, than the other one that I've been using, and I need to kind of go through the settings a bit more and figure them out. But it's not really something that I've managed to get into this weekend. But I will do it. So hopefully, audio-wise, I'm kind of hopeful with this one that I can kind of get it nailed in, even though it's a USB-C. I did think I was going to have to go XLR, but I think there's enough in this mic that I can probably drown out most. I don't think I'll get rid of all of the kind of background noises as such, but hopefully I can drown out most of them. And I also bought which is, I shouldn't have just looked at it. I think it's called the Elgato. I can't remember the name of it now. It's a big light, basically, which is shining on me, as you can see, blinding my hand. So, which is quite handy because it's not particularly nice today, and I would normally struggle in this situation to be able to record any videos. Obviously, I'm only using a webcam. It doesn't have the best sensor available, so it does struggle in low light conditions. So hopefully with this, as we move into winter, with that and obviously probably a bit of a hand from the indoor lighting, with a bit of luck, I should be able to make some content even though I won't have natural daylight anymore. Unfortunately, my work hours when we go into winter are between daylight hours, so I leave in the dark and I return home in the dark. My life is just dark at that point, so hopefully moving forward, that between the mic, the webcam, and the whatever light it is, Elgato, something air, I can't remember. But anyway, hopefully between those things, I should be good to go. In far of talking about, I've had kind of a bit of a frustrating weekend, and it kind of led me to thinking about something that I wanted. It was something that I was thinking about, and it was kind of a subject that I wanted to touch on, because I think it's an interesting subject to talk about. Because I know a lot of people I know people have different feelings, and sometimes it's hard to kind of say something without your immediate kickback from the communities within these games or products. But the way this weekend kind of went for me was I've had it absolutely up to fucking here with alpha, beta, early access. Any type of, from what I'm concerned, is now becoming almost like an easy fucking out or an easy excuse to never give you what you fucking paid for. And I find that that's happening, or there might be excuses for it at the moment, but I can see it becoming a problem going forward, because obviously I'm sure it's kind of the same now on console. It certainly will be in not too long if it's already at that stage yet. I don't know enough about consoles at the moment, but certainly in PC. Obviously, you don't have hard copies of games anymore. You have everything's digital. Everything's on download. So at any point, the game that you bought might not be working, might not be available, might be down for whatever reasons it is. But at the same time, I'm finding, and let me know in the comments if you feel the same, or if you're finding the same, or if you completely disagree. But I'm finding there's a lot of games now that even though they're released in alpha or beta or whatever it is, they're still charging a full fucking price. And if anything, sometimes they're charging even more than what the eventual person, if that game ever makes it to full release, those people will probably end up paying less. So somehow the people that put time, their own time, into a game that was a complete and utter broken fucking mess are the people that effectively got ripped off. They got, and it's the same with early access, and I learned this. I never used to buy games early access. And for the first time in a long time, I bought Forza Motorsport early access. So I paid an extra, £20 to be able to play that game early. I'm a fucking dick. Like, literally, what did I paid an extra £20 to be able to play a game in the worst possible state it could be in, to the point of within 2 hours I was asking for a refund. And luckily I got my money back. But it kind of makes you think, is that just the biggest con in the world? And the awkward thing is, I understand it when you're trying to make content on these games. I'm probably not going to have much of a choice over that going forward, and it won't be because it's maybe a game that I want or I'm even really interested in, but it might come down to a game that I'm thinking a lot of other people might be interested in it. So I need to kind of jump on it, throw some content up about it for other people to be able to obviously see and get access to, and obviously because those are, the annoying thing is, those are the times when, to me, the games are most important, just when they release. And that kind of got me into kind of this weekend. There was a couple of games that I was trying to play. I think one of them I ended up spending about 3 hours trying to make some content on, was Greyzone Warfare. And I'd seen that it had a new update and new hotfixes. Right, okay. It's worse now than what it was from my experience. Other people might have a different experience, I don't know. But it's now worse than what it was when it first released. So the helicopter ride still wants to fucking blow my PC up, whichever one it is. And it's not because I was running on the Intel system. It does exactly the same on the 7800X3D. It's hitting 100% CPU usage in the helicopter ride. And people might say, oh, that's fine. Well, no, that's a stress test. 100% CPU utilization on all your cores, hitting thermal throttle limits on whatever it is a stress test. I don't want a stress test while I'm playing a game. I don't know. I don't know what to say about that. Can that not get fixed? Because, like, I can see that being a problem for people, especially for people that are probably thinking, okay, I'm not going to use my CPU in a professional use, so I don't need to tune my CPU, I don't need to tune my voltage, or I don't need adequate cooling on my CPU so that it can pass a Cinebench R23 run, because I'm just gaming, so it's never going to hit that while I'm gaming. Yeah, it fucking will. It will if you jump in a helicopter in Greyzone Warfare. It will if you play Once Human. In fact, there's actually quite a lot of UE5 games that, yeah, I'd run an overlay, because you might be, and to be fair, I think even like Battlefield, awesome. So what Battlefield decided to do, they've decided that they're going to remove overlays because of some sort of anti-cheat, whatever it is. So you can't run an overlay. That's good. I mean, not a lot of people do bother, but some people do. And when you're using quite high-end hardware, I like to have an overlay. I'm so used to having an overlay that I can check at any point. And to be fair, most of the time you can just ignore it. Like, it blends into me now, so it's not like something that gets in my way or something that takes over my gaming. It blends in, but every now and then I'll, out of the corner of my eye, I'll see what's going on. You can't do that in Battlefield now, until I realised the other day that whatever Battlefield was doing was hitting my CPU temps to about 89C, and I'd been playing for about 6 hours. If I would have known that, I wouldn't have carried on. And it's only because the motherboard that I'm using has a code, like the code reader. So if you have anything faulty, it will throw up a digital code for you to read the code and tell what the code says. Well, on a lot of these motherboards, once you've posted and you've gone through the codes, it will revert to a CPU temperature. So it will just tell you your CPU temperature. So I peered into the side of my PC and thought, holy shit, right, okay, didn't realise that because I have no overlay, because apparently in Battlefield you can't have one anymore. So that's annoying. But it kind of made me think, is this going to be some sort of norm where you can kind of end up in a state, there's games like Star Citizen. I don't know how many years ago I bought that now. 3-4 years ago. How many years of now microtransactions are they going to milk the fuck out of that for is that alpha? Is it in beta? Who knows? Will it ever actually launch as a game? Or will they just decide that they don't need to finish the game? They don't need to fix the fact that it runs like shit or any of the other problems when those people have paid for that game now. So all they care about is the new people that are going to pay for the game. How can they make it look nice and shiny to entice someone else new to buy the game, so that when that person buys the game and that person says, hold on, I've just paid £120 or whatever it is for this game plus the spaceship, and it runs like shit, they've got a community of people that will say, oh yeah, but it's in alpha, so what do you expect? And those same people will be saying that for the next 5 or 6 years. And they can just back up on that. Oh yeah, well, it's in alpha, it's fine. We could fix it, but instead, let's spend all our resources on making more content so we can get more microtransactions, so we can make more money. Because do we need to worry about actually fixing the fucking game for the people that have already bought it? Like, fuck them, they've bought it now. We're not worried about them. We just want to entice other people to come and buy our game. And luckily, our community will back us up, because if anyone says anything negative, it's fine. We're in alpha. So our game's not supposed to be perfect. 6 years down the fucking line. 7 years down the line. 10 years down the line. Until those developers are like, yeah, I've milked this for as much as I can milk it. And then they just disappear into the sunset. No one hears from them again. They're done. They're rich. They'll go make another fucking game and they'll do the same thing. And how many games is that going to happen to? I'm not saying it's a huge deal now, but I can see it being a problem if people allow that type of practice to kind of carry on. I'm seeing a lot of, I think someone mentioned on one of the benchmarks that I put up the other day about Hell Let Loose. And there's a lot of negativity going towards that game at the moment because that game still isn't running properly. But they're adding in DLC, pay for DLC. Can you not fix the fucking game? Like, how many times is that going to happen? Well, I can't run the game. I paid for the game. I decided, I'll tell you what, I'll come back in a year's time because I'm kind of sick of this crashing or being a complete and utter stuttery mess. A year later, go back to it, nothing's fixed. Oh yeah, but they've done fucking 35 DLCs at fucking 10 quid each. Is that right? Like, I don't know. I can see that becoming a norm if it's allowed to happen. And it's almost like it needs to kind of get stopped. It's like, well, no. If you want to put your game out for early testing, just leave it as a closed early testing. Allow only a certain amount of people to play it. Or don't charge them so much whilst it's in alpha or whatever it is. I mean, some of these games I'm playing, I'm thinking, fuck me, you should be paying me to play it. Not the other way around. I shouldn't be paying to play this. If you need it testing and it's in this state, how about you pay me? Not the other way around. Because what happens? Well, I test it. I spend God knows how many hours of my man hours, and then a year later, you sell it at half price to all the people, and they get a decent version of the game. That doesn't sound like a very good deal to me. The same as, early access games. How many times have we seen now early access games are a complete and utter mess? And you're paying extra. You're paying extra for that early access. You are paying extra to play that game in the worst state that game probably will be. Although, like I just said, there's a lot of games that are actually now getting updated that are even worse. Like Once Human, I played that, I don't know, a couple of weeks ago, kind of when it was first launched. I'm not saying it played great, but it played better than the other day. After God knows how many updates, I played it the other day. I haven't tried it on the NVIDIA system, but on the AMD system, it was unplayable. It was just a complete and utter stuttering mess. The time and effort I'd put into the game of building a house, that was gone. They put up like an apology for it or whatever. It's fine, whatever. But you kind of think, how many times will those people get protected if allowed? And that's all I'm saying. If they are allowed to continue to get protected by a community that will just stand up for them after a couple of weeks, that's fine. After a couple of months, it's getting boring. After a couple of years, really? You're still going to carry on? And now I'm not saying that they're going to do that, but what I'm saying is, at what point do you stop that from happening? And it's not just to games, because the other frustration I felt this week was with my steering wheel. So I have the Moser R5 steering wheel bundle. Now, I bought that when that first released, and I don't know how long ago that was now. It was quite a while, so I'm pretty sure it was over a year. Now, I've now seen that Moser have released an R3, which is obviously a slightly lower, a 3 Newton meter rather than the 5 that I have. And that's supposed to be obviously for console. So that one's usable on Xbox or PlayStation, whereas the one that I have isn't. And I don't think anything else is within their range is. But since I bought that bundle, I think they've released a version 2 of everything else they had at the time. So there's now a version 2 R9. There's an R12, which is a new release. There's a version 2 of the R16. There's a version 2 of the R21, I think it is. There's a version 2 of all their steering wheels. The Chaos steering wheel got released. The Truck steering wheel got released. And they've just released a new, I can't remember the name of it, G something, I think it is, steering wheel, which now has an LCD screen in the middle, and they've made a software for that. So you can have all these changes in the software and all the rest of it. Right. Now, when I bought the R5 bundle, the software that came with it, the reviews that came with it, all led me to think that it had one of the nicest softwares available. And it is. It's a nice looking software. Some of the other, I don't know, some of the sim racing softwares that come with them, I don't think the Fanatec one, it might have changed now, but I think the last time I saw the Fanatec one, it didn't look very nice. And a couple of the other brands, they're very basic looking, like all the people that slag off NVIDIA control panel. Yeah, think of some of those that kind of look a bit like that. Whereas the Moser one looked like a very clean, simple to use, nice looking software. Now, when you go to the homepage within their software, you have down the home side of the page, you'll have all the games that are like the sim games that leads you to think that it will be compatible with those games. So you'll have Assetto Corsa, picture of Assetto Corsa in the middle to click on, Assetto Corsa Competizione, Forza, Automobilista, BeamNG, the list goes on, Wreckfest, all of that, all down the side. And you're supposed to be able to click on those and it will configure. So it should have, I think there's 2 options, or there's 3 options that you can find the game, find the path to launch the game, and then a configure. I still can't configure one fucking game. Not one. Not one. But since I bought it, they've released version 2 of just about everything, version 2 steering wheels, version 2 things, and the whole time out of me owning this thing, still not one game I can flick the auto configure and go into that game and not have to spend 2 fucking hours having to put every input in, redo it again, find a YouTube video trying to tell me why it's not working, what I have to do. And I'm like, I tell you what, I think the Wreckfest on the weekend, no, I did Wreckfest. I managed to get it serviceable so that I could use it. And then I downloaded BeamNG last night. And I clicked on that to configure. And it told me that it couldn't configure because it didn't have whatever it needed to configure. And I'm like, I tell you what, I'm fucking done with you now. Like, I am done. That's it. I'll just buy something else. Because if you couldn't be bothered in a whole year since I bought that fucking product to at least program one fucking game, because you had better things to do that made you money, rather than the people that spent a load of money on your gear actually sorting out what should be in place for those people, then I'm fucking done. I'll just move somewhere else, and I will move somewhere else. So I was going to buy the new Moser wheel. I'm not now. I'll just move to something else because I just do not. I'm not going to carry on with something. I don't like that because that's how I see it. And unless someone tells me something different, I'm not going to see it in any other way. That to me is a company that is more interested in bringing in constant more money by making more shiny things to make people buy it. And the people that have already spent money, they couldn't give a fuck. Could not give a fuck. It's like, well, you spent your money now. It's tough shit. Everything that you thought you were going to get, you ain't getting. Because we're not interested. But the next people that we need to entice to spend money, we'll make something new and shiny for them to entice them in to buy it. And then they'll put up with the same shit again. And that's kind of my rant on pretty much the state of how I'm finding a lot of stuff at the moment, a lot of stuff, and I'm kind of worried that that will just continue if it's allowed to continue. It's like, no, when you launch a product, make sure you've got your stuff right, and reviewers should go in hard on them, because the problem is the reviewers will, you know, I watch obviously a lot of reviews on this type of stuff, and the reviewers will say, yeah, you know, this software isn't quite right yet or whatever, but I've been in contact with them and they've promised me that, you know, they are working on it and there is updates, so pretty soon all of this stuff's going to be all right. Year later, the pretty soon didn't happen. But all the new shiny stuff that entice people to buy their products because those things made money, that, you know, they're just interested in the stuff that will make them money. The people that are bought into it, whether they've got what they should have had or what they're supposed to have, they don't care. It's like, well, they paid for it now. We don't have to worry about supporting them. They're just interested in the next person. And that just seems to be happening with, to me, I'm seeing it with like the microtransactions in games. Our games are completely not a mess. This isn't working. This feature isn't there. That feature isn't there. But hey, we'll just throw a DLC in for 30 quid and we'll just entice someone that doesn't have our game. We'll put out adverts for it. We'll make it look nice. Someone else will buy the game. They'll buy the DLC and they'll have the stuttery mess. And the people that had already bought into it, screw them. They'll deal with it. Or who cares if they do deal with it, because they ain't getting their money back now. So they'll just have to live with it. And that's how I kind of felt this weekend. I think there's probably about 3 or 4 games that I tried to play that were completely broken. And then when I got on the sim rig, every single game that I downloaded, I had to sit for hours, manually input stuff. And I know people will say, well, yeah, but you need to put in your own inputs anyway. But to actually have something there auto-configured that gives you at least a base for you to then just tweak settings from that point is extremely handy. especially if you've only got, you've downloaded a game's downloaded, sweet, you've got an hour to jump on this. Yeah, good luck. Because the amount of time that you will spend trying to configure it, and it's a bit of a nightmare when you're in a sim rig. It's not like you've got, I don't use a full like mouse and keyboard that I can piss around with stuff. I'm using like a little touchpad, like tracking mouse type thing, and having to go through God knows how many settings, spend so long trying to go through stuff like that, to then get back into the game, try and move the steering wheel, not working, or it's somehow done some sort of reverse. It's a nightmare. Now I think Fanatec are very good for that, but for the same reason, I'm not sure I really want to buy into Fanatec right now. So if anyone is watching this video that is using any type of sim gear that has a good compatibility with games, at least some sort of auto configure that you can launch in, please let me know in the comments, because I'm not going to carry on now. And it's annoying because I like the Moses, or I like the look of the Moses stuff. The gear is good quality. I don't have any problems with the quality of the hardware. But you've had, from what I'm concerned, if I jumped on the R5, now the R5 was, before the R5 came, certainly the version 1 of the R16 and the R21 and the R9, I think. So those all came before it. The software must have been launched with them. So how long has your stuff been out now? 2 years. 2 years, and you don't have one game within the library that will just configure. Nah. To me, at that point, if you're just going to carry on releasing version 2, it'll be fucking version 3 next, and I still won't be able to put auto configure for Automobilista. Like, nah, that's a joke. So I know it sounds like I'm being a bit of a bitch and whinging and I want everything, but I don't know. I just don't think, after this weekend, that just kind of got to me quite badly. So I've ranted for nearly 30 minutes. I'm going to leave it there. Let me know in the comments. Do you think I'm wrong? Do you think I'm acting over the top? Or do you find that, I'm not saying that developers or certain brands are deliberately acting in this manner, but at the same time I'm thinking, if it is happening and it is allowed to happen, and people, these people, communities are built around it, and these communities will constantly defend people for it, at what point does this go from not great to pretty bad, where pretty much all game developers will just say, oh, I'll tell you what, we'll just, instead of releasing a full game, which we know will have a few bugs and whatever else, we'll just release everything in beta. And then for 3 years, we can just say, yeah, but it's in beta, and our community will just stick up for us. If anyone says, yeah, okay, this has now been a year, is this not going to get fixed? I don't know. It kind of seems that way with quite a few games to me. Certainly on PC at the moment. Let me know in the comments. Let me know what you think. That's my whinge and bitch over and done with. And I'll catch you in the next one.